What's up, everybody? We're going to be doing Acts 23 today, so let's jump right into it. Acts 23. And if you remember at the end of Acts 22, the Roman commander had brought Paul before the high priest and the council because he wanted to try to figure out why they were accusing Paul. It was a huge uproar in Acts 21 and 22. So this Roman commander is trying to figure out what he did because Paul is a Roman and he could not really punish him unless he was judged guilty. So let's jump into it. So then Paul, looking earnestly at the council, said, Men and brethren, I have lived in all good conscience since before God unto this day. And the high priest Ananias commanded those who stood by him to strike him on the mouth. So Paul is brought before the high priest and this council of Jewish men, and he tells them, says, hey guys, I've been living in good conscience before God until this day. What he was saying is, I've been following what God has called me to do, and we're fixing to see Paul had done that pretty much his whole life. Well, this made the high priest mad when he said this, so he got this guy to strike him in the mouth, punch him right in the face. Then Paul said to him, God will strike you, you whitewashed wall, for you sit to judge me according to the law, and do you command me to be struck contrary to the law? So Paul, but before he catches himself, he goes after him, says, God's going to strike you, and a whitewashed wall, that's showing you look all clean on the inside, but you're not. You look all clean on the outside, but you're not on the inside. And he says, you're judging me according to the law, but you're commanding me to be struck. That doesn't go against that. That is going against the law. You shouldn't have done that. Said, and those who stood by said, do you revile God's high priest? Then Paul said, I did not know, brethren, that he was the high priest, for it is written, you shall not speak evil of a ruler of your people. So they go after Paul when he said God's going to strike you. They said, now this is the high priest. Are you going against God's high priest? According to the law, you're not supposed to do that. You see, Paul even spoke, said you're not supposed to go against a ruler. And he said, I didn't know he was the high priest. And Paul's slick here. He notices something, which God showed him through the Holy Spirit. Said, but when Paul perceived that one part was Sadducees and the other Pharisees, he cried out in the council, Men and brethren, I am a Pharisee, the son of a Pharisee. Concerning the hope and resurrection of the dead, I am being judged. So the Sadducees and Pharisees, these were sects of Jews. They were both Jewish, but they were from different backgrounds, kind of had a different belief here. And Paul sees that. He says, hey, I'm a Pharisee, and said, they're judging me, said, I'm being judged right now concerning the resurrection of the dead, which Paul wasn't lying. He was talking about through Jesus, you have forgiveness of sins, you have everlasting life. That's what he had been preaching this whole time. Now, the Pharisees believed in the resurrection of the dead. Check this out. So when he had said this, a dissension arose between the Pharisees and the Sadducees, and the assembly was divided. For the Sadducees say that there is no resurrection and no angel or spirit, but the Pharisees confess both. So you see a little bit about each here. The Pharisees and Sadducees said they were divided. The Sadducees were saying, hey, there's not going to be a resurrection. Now, these were Jewish people. They hadn't accepted Jesus now. But the Pharisees saw it in the scriptures, even though they hadn't accepted Jesus and believed it was going to come. But the Sadducees did not believe in the resurrection. They also didn't believe in no angel or a spirit. But the Pharisees confessed both. That kind of reminds me today how we actually have sects in the Christian faith. You know, we've been sectioned off by different denominations. There's a group today who said the Spirit's not doing anything. You know, there's people say that some of the fruits of the spirits aren't happening anymore. There's not healings anymore. There's not this anymore. There's so many things people break up from. And it's really sad. And you're finna see Paul used this dissension here, this split, to get himself kind of out of some trouble right here. But today it's sad to see that within the church who have put their faith in Jesus. And hope if you haven't put your faith in the resurrection of the dead, then we're in trouble. Through Jesus, we receive that he rose again. But Paul used this to his advantage here. Said, then there arose a loud outcry, and the scribes of the Pharisees' party arose and protested, saying, we find no evil in this man, but if a spirit or an angel has spoken to him, let us not fight against God. All right, so the Pharisees, they start taking up for Paul. Say, hey, we ain't found no evil in this man. He said, if he said a spirit or an angel spoken to him, let's quit fighting. Said, let us not fight against God. We're fighting against what God said. Now, it was Jesus, the Son of God, who spoke to Paul, but at least these guys could see it in a spiritual way. They weren't putting it in Jesus. They said if a spirit or an angel spoke to him. But he kind of got the Pharisees on his side. It says, now when there arose a great dissension, the commander, fearing lest Paul might be pulled to pieces by them, commanded the soldiers to go down and take him by force from among them and bring him into the barracks. So this Roman commander, he sees this getting crazy down there. He brought them together because he wanted to figure out what was going on between them. But he sees it's just going to be more trouble, and he goes down there and pulls them back. But the following night the Lord stood by him and said, be of good cheer, Paul, for as you have testified for me in Jerusalem, so you must also bear witness at Rome. So even though a lot of craziness was going on, God had talked to Paul and said, hey, you're doing good. Don't worry, your end's not going to be in Jerusalem. You're going to keep going. I'm fixing to send you to Rome. We're finna put you in the heart of this. That and when it was day, some of the Jews banded together and bound themselves under an oath, saying that they would neither eat nor drink till they had killed Paul. Now there were more than 40 who had formed this conspiracy. So you have this group of 40 or more here, probably more. It says more than 40. You have this group that came together under an oath, and they say this was their oath. We're not going to eat or drink again until we kill Paul. Which, if they followed that oath, they really screwed up, as you're fixing to see here. So they came to the chief priests and elders and said, we have bound ourselves under an oath that we will eat nothing until we've killed Paul. Now you therefore, together with the council, suggest to the commander that he be brought down to you tomorrow, as though you were going to make further inquiries concerning him. But we are ready to kill him before he comes. So they go to the chief priests and the elders, they go to the leaders and say, hey, we got a plan, we've got an oath to kill Paul, we need you to go to the commander and tell him to be brought down, we got more questions for him, but we're going to be lying in wait, and we're going to take him out. So these were really some ruthless dudes here. And what's sad, they're supposed to have been the ones closest to God. It's really, really sad when you go back and you look at it, but it was all part of God's plan. So when Paul's sister's son, that'd be Paul's nephew, heard of their ambush, he went and entered the barracks and told Paul. Then Paul called one of the centurions to him and said, take this young man to the commander, for he has something to tell him. So he took him and brought him to the commander and said, Paul the prisoner called me to him and asked me to bring this young man to you. He has something to say to you. Then the commander took him by the hand, went aside, and asked privately, what is it that you have to tell me? And he said, the Jews have agreed to ask that you bring Paul down to the council tomorrow, as though they were going to inquire more fully about him. But do not yield to them, for more than 40 of them lie in wait for him, men who have bound themselves by an oath that they will neither eat nor drink till they have killed him, and now they are ready, waiting for the promise from you. So the commander let the young man depart and commanded him, tell no one that you have revealed these things. So God allowed Paul's nephew to hear what was going to go on. The nephew got to talk to the Roman commander and told him everything. Said, hey, this is what they're going to do, but they're just trying to get Paul. They're waiting to kill him. Said, and the commander called for 2 centurions, saying, prepare 200 soldiers, 70 horsemen, and 200 spearmen to go to Caesarea at the 3rd hour of the night, and provide mounts to set Paul on, and bring him safely to Felix the governor. He wrote a letter in the following manner. So this Roman commander got 2 centurions. He says, get 200 soldiers, 70 horsemen, 200 spearmen, and go to Caesarea at the 3rd hour of the night. He sent a whole army pretty much with Paul here. That shows you how much God was protecting Paul. And I love that song, the God of angel armies. There's a story in the Old Testament where this guy comes out and he sees this army around him, and he goes back in and talks to the prophet, said, man, we're in trouble. And he was pretty much like, look again, go back out there and look. And he opened his eyes, and there was this angel army everywhere. And it was showing God protecting them. and God was protecting Paul here. Hey, it's the same with us today. Sometimes we feel overwhelmed. We feel like everything's going to get us, but we need to know, hey, God's fighting our battles. We can trust him. He's taking care of everything, and we can rest in what he's doing. Just like right here, his nephew didn't have to hear that, but that's how God works. Things happen for his people. So no matter what you're in right now, if you feel like the enemy's tearing you down, whether at work, at home, family life, relationships, whatever, know that, hey, God is working something grand in your favor, and just trust him. All right, but we see this commander wrote, he was going to send him to Felix the governor, and he writes the governor a letter. It says, Claudius Lysias, to the most excellent governor Felix, greetings. I want somebody to write me that way, to the most excellent Jared. That'd be kind of cool. Anyway, you don't have to do that. Said, the man was seized by the Jews and was about to be killed by them. Coming with the troops, I rescued him, having learned that he was a Roman. And when I wanted to know the reason they accused him, I brought him before their council. I found out that he was accused concerning questions of their law, but had nothing charged against him deserving of death or chains. And when it was told me that the Jews lay in wait for the man, I sent him immediately to you, and also commanded his accusers to state before you the charges against him. Farewell. So this commander lays everything out to this governor, and he tells him, you see right here, I have found nothing that he deserves death or chains. So there's nothing we can do to hold him or to kill him. This concerns their law, not the Roman law. Said, then the soldiers, as they were commanded, took Paul and brought him by night to Antipatris. The next day they left the horsemen to go on with him and returned to the barracks. When they came to Caesarea and had delivered the letter to the governor, they also presented Paul to him. And when the governor had read it, he asked what province he was from, and when he understood that he was from Cilicia, he said, I will hear you when your accusers also have come. And he commanded him to be kept in Herod's praetorium. So the chapter ends, and Paul's in Herod's praetorium. He's kind of chilling. He's still kind of, I guess you could say, house arrest or something. But they're waiting for the accusers to come. Now the high priest and all them's gonna have to come plead their case before the governor before they can do anything to Paul. Which we've done learn, though, God had already told Paul, you're going to make it all the way to Rome. I'm going to send you to Rome. Sorry, I ain't talking good. My nose a little stopped up. But we see a picture here how God is using Paul through this hard times, but I love the picture of he's protecting him, and I want you to remember that as well. No matter what you're going through, hey, God is with you. Just keep trusting him, resting in him. He did this for Paul. You look all through the Old Testament. There was times David went through trouble, okay, but he come out on top. It just keeps happening over and over again, and he does the same for you. And when you get discouraged, just look and remember the times he's got you out of a hardship, or and it'll encourage your faith. Hey, he's done it before. He's going to do it again. That's what faith is. Faith. You can't move God without faith. He wants you just to keep trusting him, and I encourage you all to do that. As always, thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a great one.